Your focus is being stolen one notification at a time. Comfort is the enemy disguised as pleasure. Discipline is the gateway to mental freedom. You become what you repeatedly consume. Silence is where clarity is reborn. The life you want demands a stronger mind than the one you have now. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Big Brother, and this message is brought to you by Razor Focus. Right now, as you sit here listening to my voice, there is a war being fought inside your mind. It is not a war of weapons or borders. It is a war of attention. A war for your focus. A war for your future. And most people are losing without even realizing they are on the battlefield. You wake up and reach for your phone before you reach for your purpose. You scroll before you think. You consume before you create. And slowly, silently, your mind is being trained to crave distraction more than discipline. This is not an accident. The modern world is engineered to hijack your brain. Every notification is a hit. Every scroll is a reward. Every like is a tiny spark of validation. Dopamine floods your system, and for a moment, you feel stimulated. Engaged. Entertained. But when the screen goes dark, something else rises. Restlessness. Emptiness. Anxiety. A quiet dissatisfaction you cannot explain. Because what you are experiencing is not happiness. It is chemical manipulation. Dopamine is not evil. It is powerful. It is the chemical of motivation, anticipation, and reward. It is what pushes you to chase goals, to build, to strive, to achieve. But when dopamine is constantly triggered by cheap stimulation, your brain begins to lose its sensitivity. The ordinary becomes boring. The simple becomes unbearable. Silence becomes uncomfortable. And suddenly, the very habits that build greatness feel too slow, too quiet, too hard. Reading a book feels exhausting. Working out feels impossible. Sitting alone with your thoughts feels like punishment. Why? Because your brain has been conditioned to expect fireworks every few seconds. You have been trained to crave intensity without effort. And effort is the birthplace of growth. The Dopamine Detox Challenge is not about rejecting technology. It is about reclaiming your mind. It is about stepping away from artificial stimulation long enough to remember who you are without it. It is about resetting your baseline so that real work feels rewarding again. Because right now, many of you are not tired. You are overstimulated. You are not lazy. You are distracted. And distraction is the most polite way mediocrity destroys potential. Think about how many hours you have lost to scrolling. How many nights you have stayed awake consuming content that added nothing to your life. How many mornings began with comparison instead of clarity. Every moment feels small. But together, they form a pattern. And patterns shape identity. You do not become disciplined by accident. You become disciplined by repetition. And right now, many people are repeating the wrong rituals. The detox begins with awareness. Awareness that your time is limited. Awareness that your mind is programmable. Awareness that every click, every swipe, every impulse either strengthens you or weakens you. You cannot build a powerful life with a distracted brain. You cannot achieve deep work with shallow attention. And you cannot expect extraordinary results from ordinary habits. Comfort whispers lies. It tells you that you deserve rest before you deserve progress. It tells you that one more video will not hurt. That one more hour will not matter. That tomorrow is always available. But tomorrow is a promise no one owns. Every day you delay discipline, you are voting for a weaker version of yourself. A dopamine detox forces you to confront the silence. And silence is terrifying for those who have been running from themselves. In silence, you hear your excuses. In silence, you see your inconsistencies. In silence, you feel the gap between who you are and who you could be. But that gap is not meant to shame you. It is meant to wake you up. Imagine waking up without immediately reaching for stimulation. Imagine sitting still, breathing, thinking, planning. Imagine choosing when and how you engage with the world instead of reacting to it. That is power. That is control. That is freedom. Freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you want. That is indulgence. Freedom is being able to do what you know you should do, even when you do not feel like it. Freedom is mastery over impulse. Freedom is choosing long-term fulfillment over short-term pleasure. The challenge will test you. The first day will feel uncomfortable. The second day will feel boring. Your mind will search desperately for novelty. It will try to convince you that you are missing out. But what you are actually missing out on is your own potential. Because beyond the discomfort lies clarity. Beyond the boredom lies creativity. Beyond the silence lies strength. When you reduce artificial stimulation, your brain recalibrates. Simple things become meaningful again. A walk feels refreshing. A conversation feels deep. A workout feels energizing. Work feels engaging. Your motivation begins to return not because you forced it, but because you stopped suffocating it. Discipline is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is waking up when you said you would. It is doing the task you planned. It is saying no when temptation appears. It is protecting your focus like it is your most valuable asset. Because it is. We are living in a crisis of attention. Entire industries compete for your time. They do not care about your dreams. They care about your engagement. The longer you scroll, the more profitable you become to them. But the less profitable you become to yourself. If you do not guard your focus, someone else will monetize it. Responsibility begins when excuses end. It is easy to blame technology. Easy to blame society. Easy to blame algorithms. But the device is not the villain. The villain is unconscious consumption. The villain is lack of boundaries. The villain is the refusal to say enough. You must decide who controls your mind. Is it your impulses? Or your intention? Is it your cravings? Or your commitments? Because you cannot serve both distraction and discipline. One will always dominate the other. Time is not slowing down. The clock does not pause for your procrastination. Every day you delay building your strength, you move closer to regret. And regret is heavier than effort. Regret is the weight of unused potential. Regret is the echo of chances not taken. Regret is realizing too late that you traded your dreams for dopamine. This challenge is not about perfection. It is about awareness. It is about resetting your relationship with stimulation. It is about proving to yourself that you are stronger than your cravings. When you choose discipline over distraction, you are not losing pleasure. You are gaining power. The modern world glorifies busyness but fears depth. It celebrates noise but avoids stillness. It rewards visibility but neglects integrity. But greatness has never been built in chaos. It is built in focus. In repetition. In solitude. In the hours when no one is watching and no one is applauding. If you want a powerful life, you must cultivate a powerful mind. And a powerful mind is not scattered. It is sharp. It is deliberate. It is resilient. It does not chase every impulse. It chooses its direction and commits. There will be moments when you feel tempted to return to old habits. That is normal. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is unsettling. But remember why you started. Remember the frustration you felt. The restlessness. The sense that you were capable of more. That feeling is not random. It is a signal. You were not born to be average. You were not born to consume endlessly. You were not born to watch others live boldly while you hesitate. You were born with the capacity to create, to build, to contribute, to evolve. But that capacity requires discipline. As you move forward in this challenge, understand that you are not just detoxing from stimulation. You are redefining your identity. You are telling yourself that you are someone who values depth over distraction. Someone who values growth over comfort. Someone who values purpose over impulse. And if you are serious about that transformation, then let your actions reflect it. Make this commitment visible. Like this video and subscribe to the Razor Focus channel, not for entertainment, but as a declaration. A declaration that you choose discipline. A declaration that you choose focus. A declaration that you are done being controlled by the trivial. Because this is bigger than a challenge. This is about who you become. The person who can sit in silence without panic. The person who can work without constant stimulation. The person who can delay gratification and trust the process. That person is unstoppable. The future belongs to those who can concentrate. In a distracted world, focus is rare. And what is rare is valuable. If you can train your mind to resist cheap dopamine, you gain an advantage that cannot be easily replicated. You become consistent. And consistency compounds. Imagine 5 years from now. 2 versions of you exist. One continued chasing instant pleasure. The other embraced discipline. The difference between them is not talent. Not luck. Not intelligence. It is daily choices. Small, repeated decisions. Protecting attention. Guarding time. Choosing effort. The Dopamine Detox Challenge is your starting line. It is the moment you decide that your mind is sacred. That your attention is priceless. That your life is too short to be lived in fragments. You cannot control the entire world, but you can control what you feed your brain. There is another layer to this battle that most people never recognize. When you constantly stimulate your brain with easy pleasure, you shrink your tolerance for real effort. The mind begins to rebel against difficulty. It avoids friction. It escapes discomfort. And slowly, without realizing it, you start designing your life around what feels easy instead of what builds strength. But growth has never lived in comfort. Growth lives in resistance. It lives in the stretch, in the strain, in the moments when you want to quit but decide to continue. A dopamine detox retrains you to face effort without panic. It rebuilds your tolerance for depth. You will begin to notice something powerful happening inside you. Your thoughts become clearer. Your reactions become slower and more intentional. You are no longer pulled in every direction by every stimulus. You begin to think long-term. You begin to plan instead of react. And that shift alone separates leaders from followers. Because followers chase stimulation. Leaders cultivate focus. Followers consume trends. Leaders build legacies. The difference is not intelligence. It is attention control. There will be days when the silence feels heavy. When boredom creeps in. When you question whether this discipline is worth it. In those moments, remind yourself that boredom is not your enemy. Boredom is a doorway. It is the space where creativity is born. It is the environment where deep ideas form. The greatest breakthroughs in human history did not come from scrolling. They came from stillness. From contemplation. From uninterrupted thought. When you remove constant noise, your mind begins to produce instead of absorb. And as your focus strengthens, so does your self-respect. Every time you resist an unnecessary impulse, you prove to yourself that you are in control. That builds confidence. Not loud confidence. Not performative confidence. Quiet confidence. The kind that does not need validation. The kind that walks into a room and remains steady. Because you know you are disciplined. You know you can rely on yourself. And self-trust is the foundation of mental strength. Eventually, the detox is no longer a challenge. It becomes a lifestyle. You stop chasing stimulation because you no longer need it. You find satisfaction in progress, in mastery, in meaningful effort. The chaos of the world no longer dictates your internal state. You become grounded, focused, deliberate. And in a distracted age, that alone makes you rare. That alone makes you powerful. The noise will always exist. The distractions will always tempt you. But you do not have to answer every call. You do not have to open every notification. You do not have to engage with every impulse. Strength is not reacting. Strength is choosing. As you leave this message, do not feel overwhelmed. Feel empowered. Because the solution is simple. Reduce the noise. Increase the focus. Replace consumption with creation. Replace impulse with intention. Replace comfort with commitment. Stand up tomorrow and choose differently. Put the phone down. Pick the book up. Close the tab. Open your mind. Do the work. Stay consistent. Embrace the boredom. Lean into the silence. And watch what happens to your clarity, your energy, your ambition. The Dopamine Detox Challenge is not about depriving yourself. It is about rediscovering yourself. The version of you that is disciplined, focused, calm, powerful. The version that does not need constant stimulation to feel alive. The world will continue spinning. Notifications will continue buzzing. Trends will continue shifting. But you will remain steady, anchored, intentional. Because you chose mastery over mediocrity. And when years pass and you look back at this moment, you will not remember the discomfort. You will remember the decision. The decision to reclaim your mind. The decision to protect your focus. The decision to live deliberately. The war for your attention is real. But so is your strength. The chains of distraction are not locked. They are habits. And habits can be broken. The only question is whether you are ready to break them. Right now, the choice stands before you. Comfort or discipline. Noise or clarity. Impulse or intention. Average or extraordinary. Choose wisely. Because your future is built in the silence you embrace today.